Welcome back to the JMC Reviews. It's time for the first episode of October, and joining me for the first time ever on this show from the Reactions channel is my cousin, Allie.
Hello, I'm back, bitches.
That's kind of her catchphrase.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are about to enter a world of darkness. A world where life and death are meaningless and pain is God.
We'll tear your soul apart. Happy Halloween!
Normally, when I start the October season, I go with an old classic horror film, like the Universal Monster Classics, but I've kind of gone through all the originals, so we're gonna go for a black and white horror film from the 1950s, and more specifically, a black and white horror film from the sadly recently passed king of B-movies, Roger Corman. I've done many Roger Corman reviews, and before we start, I just feel like we should pay a little tribute to him. He dominated the low-budget exploitation scene for the better part of a century, directing many classic sci-fi horror films and producing many great exploitation classics of the 70s and 80s. Even up to his late age of 98, he was still working, producing films here and there, sometimes for the Sci-Fi Channel. And I'll admit, not every movie he did was great, but he could be entertaining, and when he was good, he was really goddamn good. And regardless of quality, there was always something admirable and inspiring about his films, just knowing what he was able to achieve on so little of a budget. Crazy to think that he's gone. He was one of those people where you thought he would live forever. And of course, gotta mention, so many of the best filmmakers owe their start to him. Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, Ron Howard, James Cameron, Menahem Golan, Gale Ann Hurd, Jonathan Demme, Joe Dante, and many more. And some of the biggest actors got their start working for him. Robert De Niro, Sylvester Stallone, Sandra Bullock, Tommy Lee Jones, Charles Bronson, and last but certainly not least, Jack Nicholson.
By mistake, he actually made a good picture every once in a while. I was never in it, but that was much my fault as the next guy.
And today we're going to be talking about what's considered one of his best films, 1959's A Bucket of Blood.
It's the weirdest and the wildest. Enjoy yourself where the hilarious enjoy the horrifying.
I know this film well. I watched it about 15 years ago, I think, when I was in high school. It's a movie about a creepy, lonely busboy at this beatnik coffee house that likes to display art. This guy, Walter Paisley, played by another late great B-movie persona, Dick Miller, dreams of being a great artist, but he can't create. So, what does he do? He ends up murdering people, covering their bodies in clay, and putting them on display, getting the praise he's always desired.
I'm honored to know this man. It's nice.
Just to be clear, this film is a horror comedy, so you are supposed to find some of the stuff going on silly, and it also gives them an excuse to not go fully convincing with some of the stuff they did. But for me, I think it came off pretty well. Like, it's a big lampoon on the kind of beatnik, pretentious art house culture, and at times it can get a little too real with just how cringy some of these folks are.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Like, this is a comedy that thrives on the cringe.
Absolutely.
The work of a master sculptor. And indeed, so it is. That master sculptor is in our midst. He's none other than Walter Paisley, our very own busboy, whose hands of genius have been carrying away the empty cups of your frustration. Mark well this lad. His is the silent voice of creation. Within the dark, rich soil of humility, he blossoms as the hope of our nearly sterile century.
Yeah, I thought it was a great film.
And it's only an hour.
Only an hour. They packed a punch into that hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it was perfect. I thought like the plot and the way that it escalated, the way that it started, you couldn't imagine his character being capable of that. And even he talks to himself and he doesn't believe he's capable of that. And then he proves that he is. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, it goes by very fast, and while it is funny, it is at times genuinely unsettling.
Oh, very.
And a lot of that is owed to the film's star, Dick Miller. He plays meek and pathetic so well, but he can also play cold-blooded and insane very well.
Yeah.
I don't want you to make any more statues. You understand? No more statues.
Why not? I gotta make statues, Leonard. You heard Brock, they want me to make them. If I stop making them, I'll just be a busboy again.
Did you think he gave a good performance?
I did. I thought in the beginning he was perfect in his portrayal of just somebody who is so insecure and just desperate for a better life. And really praise. I wouldn't even call it a better life. He was desperate for praise, which then drove his entire addiction to killing and then covering them in clay. I thought he did a fantastic job.
What am I gonna do next? What am I gonna do next? I gotta do something before they forget. I know what it's like to be ignored.
And while he didn't go into it too hard, like why he is this way, it was clear like there's something unbalanced about him. Even before he started killing, he was clearly not very in touch with reality.
Definitely not.
Canvas is a canvas or a painting. A rock is a rock or a statue. Sound is a sound. It's music.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, he's in love.
Your nose. Your nose.
I don't think he has it. Oh. With Dick Miller, he lived to be 90. He died in 2019.
Okay.
And like Roger Corman, he kept working right to the end.
Wow.
His most frequent collaborator was Corman's student, Joe Dante, who directed him in so many goddamn films. And the things Dick Miller's probably best known for, to us, our generation, are the films Gremlins and The Terminator. He played the paranoid plow driver, Mr. Futterman. He was the gun shop owner that Arnold Schwarzenegger blew away in The Terminator. And he's mostly a character actor, and he always had talent, but with this film, he really got a chance to shine, because this was one of only 3 films where he was ever the lead. Our other films he was the lead in, which pretty much all came out within a 3-year period, were this, Rock All Night, and War of the Satellites. All 3 of them directed by Roger Corman.
My nigga.
A little backstory if you're interested.
Always.
The film was released by American International Pictures, the pretty much staple of low-budget drive-in cinema, and the studio where Roger Corman really found his initial success. He directed I don't know how many movies for them. They made the pitch to Corman to make a horror film on a very low budget. Corman took the offer, but he wasn't interested in doing a straightforward horror film. His longtime collaborator, Charles B. Griffith, came up with the idea of making a satirical horror comedy about the beatnik culture, which is I don't know if you could tell. It's a very, I wouldn't say they're not hippies, but you can tell they're kind of the precursor to what would become the hippie culture.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Very out of it, kind of zoned, doing a lot of drugs, and they were very anti-materialism, conformity, blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, as one guy said, far out.
Walter Paisley is born.
Crazy, what did he say? Didn't you hear? No, man, I'm too far out.
Yeah, those two guys were awesome.
And I did Walter the Wigger.
Come on, let me just cure
Did you
cats.
say wigger?
I thought that I heard that too.
Corman says a lot of the film came about from him and Griffith perusing around various beatnik coffee houses, and they came up with the majority of the film's story over the course of one day.
This is unbelievable.
And the plot itself, just to be clear, because it would be wrong not to acknowledge this, a lot of this film's plot is pretty similar to the 1933 horror film Mystery of the Wax Museum and its 1953 remake House of Wax. Playing on and ripping off what was popular at the time was kind of Roger Corman's thing.
Ah, I see.
Like, he made a couple of knockoffs of Alien after that came out.
Okay.
And, Joe Dante, for Roger Corman, made a knockoff of Jaws called Piranha.
Oh my god.
Which is actually a pretty good film.
The piranha.
I told you not even to say that word.
But the piranhas.
What about the piranhas?
They're eating the guests, sir. They're here. Piranha.
The movie was shot in 5 days on a budget of $50,000.
What?
Most of the sets were left over from another American International picture called Diary of a High School Bride.
What?
That's a completely different thing.
Yeah, I bet.
Charles B. Griffith said Corman was uneasy about doing comedy, but Griffith said because the film was made on such a low scale, there's no way they could lose money.
It always comes down to profit with you people, doesn't it?
Speaking of the direction, how do you think Roger Corman did utilizing the limited areas he had with this?
Yeah, I was honestly impressed. I mean, the cat clay sculpture, I was very disappointed. But other than that, honestly, I was very impressed. I couldn't really tell. I think also there's a pro of it coming out in 1959 and it being black and white. You don't have those HD cameras where anything low budget looks very low budget. I thought here they did a great job, and the black and white definitely helps them in masking maybe some of that low budget stuff.
A lot of what makes the film work again are the actors. Like Dick Miller, we've sung his praises, but the supporting cast is pretty good. The standout for me is Anthony Carboni as Leonard DeSantis.
Did you hear them, Mr. DeSantis? They all like my cat.
Yeah, very good.
His name, the boss's name is DeSantis.
Oh, it's too close to home.
Owner of the coffee house. He's a very bullyish boss to Walter at the beginning. He's the first one to find out that he's just killing folk and covering them in clay.
And he looks really not okay with it, and then he is okay with it. The money is too tempting.
Hey, morals are one thing, but green is another.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it before. And I hope I never see anything like it again. What's your opinion, Leonard?
Don't ask me.
Oh, come on. Now even you must see its value. Do you think that you or I could have conceived of such a thing, much less executed?
I think I could.
I didn't realize how much talent Walter actually had. It would be wrong to show his pieces one at a time. Dead wrong.
You're right. He should build a collection first.
I love this guy. Like, he's an asshole, but he's so funny. Like, him just trying to pretend that he's not aware of what's going on.
He didn't do a good job of pretending like that. It was hilarious for us, but I gotta say, if I was Walter, I'd be looking at him saying, "You know something."
Well, good thing Walter's kind of an idiot.
He is.
Maybe when it's big enough, we can have a show.
A show? Just for me?
No, well, not exactly. But it would take you years to make that many statues. But you work.
Well,
He did one in one night.
Idea, Walter.
A show? How soon can we go?
Well, don't rush things, it takes time. But first of all, you've got to stop making these horrible statues.
my favorite joke in the whole film is after a scene where Walter drunk, goes nuts and cuts off a guy's head with a buzzsaw, and then he presents the clay sculpture to Leonard, who's just like, "You made a bust." That made me laugh so hard the first time I saw it.
No, yeah.
And of course, Julian Burton as Maxwell Brock, the very pretentious poet of the coffee house. This guy was probably the cringiest thing in this movie.
He'd love to hear himself talk.
Yeah, like you could practically see him jerking off as he did it.
Yeah.
Through the nose of ambidextrous apathy, necrophiles may dance upon the placemats in an orgy of
necrophiles?
Yeah. The highway of life cuts sharply through the shady ghettos and the ivy-covered tomb. Duncan knows. Tuesday sunrise knows. Alley cats and garbage cans and steaming pavements and you and I and the nude descending the staircase and all such things with phones. We know that Walter Paisley is born.
I got nothing.
Barbara Morris as Carla, the girl that Walter is in love with, even though they barely talk to each other.
Oh, classic.
There's not a ton to her character, but I thought she played it well. Like, she was nice, but it was clear she was not falling for him. And as soon as she saw danger, she was like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah, and then he chased after her, which was actually a very scary scene. It's crazy, the thin line between love and hate. The second that she rejected him,
yeah,
the switch went off.
Would you let me make a statue of you?
Would you really like to?
Can I make a sculpture of you?
Ugh, what a dick. No pun intended.
Although, that was funny how he nearly tumbled on himself chasing her.
It was like, of course, he can't even do that smooth. Like, he's just like the least graceful person.
That reminds me of a moment where it was raining while I was on a walk once, and I actually tried to run to get home fast.
Oh God.
And I almost tumbled right into the pavement.
Oh jeez.
So it's like, I can understand that.
Oh yeah, one time I was walking my dog Nemo, and I was a little bit drunk, and Nemo all of a sudden saw a squirrel, and so he bolted. I wasn't really paying attention, I tripped and fell flat on my face.
That's funny.
Dick Miller himself, he expressed a bit of unhappiness with the film and how it came out.
Oh really?
Saying that he liked the script, he liked the overall vibe that they were going for, but he felt like the low budget limited what they could do. Particularly, his criticism was with how the film ended, which might seem a little abrupt, but I thought it fit given the hokiness of the hokey tone of the whole film.
Yeah.
I suppose he would have called it Hanging Man. His greatest work.
I will say, when he did hang himself, I thought that he was going to be covered in clay.
Yeah.
Now, logistically, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because he would have been dead. But, you know, because he was talking about immortalizing these people, and, you know, I know how I'll be remembered. He said something to the extent of that.
There's a body inside that statue.
Well, that's ours. Don't you see, Carla? I made them immortal. Don't you see, I can do the same for you.
So I thought he was going to be a little bit more covered in clay, but...
That was his main criticism. He felt like it should have been complete.
Oh, okay. I feel the same way.
But, hey, 50,000, they did as much as they could.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, this was not the only film where Dick Miller played a character named Walter Paisley.
What?
He played a character with that exact name in 4 other movies going forward. 1976's Hollywood Boulevard, 1981's The Howling, 1983's Twilight Zone the movie, and 1986's Shopping Mall.
We're shopping
costs you an arm and a leg.
They're dead meat.
How did that happen?
I'm not sure. I think like most of those were made by Joe Dante, who I guess just really loved Bucket of Blood, so he wanted to have him just play the same character. But it's a little, they're fun movies, but it's a little confusing because they clearly can't be the same character.
Yeah.
In fact, one of those movies has the other version of Walter Paisley die as well.
Oh, okay then.
3 of those movies had Roger Corman involved in some way.
I was gonna say, I was like, if Roger's involved, I'm surprised that he was like, yeah, keep using the name that I came up with.
Where are my fucking royalties?
The last thing to say about the cast is Julian Burden. He reportedly wrote that life is a bum poem himself.
Oh, and it was supposed to be bad, right? He
Yeah.
wrote it poorly? Okay, great.
Yeah, he was deliberately satirizing the beatnik scene.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked. Like, it was a very awkward scene. But it's clear, it's meant to be awkward. You're supposed to sit there and be like, is this over yet?
Yeah.
Can we get out of here?
Yeah.
And laughter rings from every time capsule in the star-spangled firmament. And in the deep freeze, it is the children's hour. And no one knows that Duncan is murdered.
Of all the kills of the film, it's hard to say which one's the best. I think, for me, the craziest was the buzzsaw scene.
Yeah, that was crazy. That poor guy.
Yeah.
He really didn't see it coming.
Oh yeah, what do you want? Life is an obscure hobo, bumming a ride on the omnibus savant.
David, you must be nuts.
He's surprisingly strong for a little guy.
Yeah.
Well, at least he didn't kill somebody he knows. That was probably the most innocent of everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I was really sad at the cat one.
Oh, what's the matter, Frankie? How'd you get yourself stuck in a wall?
Bye, kitty.
That was convenient. That, I know it's not a person, but that was just, that poor cat.
Animal lover.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that was an accident.
Yeah, you know who wasn't an accident? Was that woman you told me about that killed her? That killed her dog. Remember, politician?
Christy Nome.
Yeah.
She's real hung up on that.
Yeah, that will forever stick in my brain. It reminded me of that. I got some trauma, some PTSD.
The most chilling death, I think, was when he killed Alice, the nude model.
Yeah.
Like, that was the most legitimately scary scene of the film.
Why is the busboy sitting here?
I'm not the busboy anymore.
That's right. Walter has become a sculptor.
I'm a model, you know. Would you like to do me?
I just might.
Nobody knows how to do that anymore, much less the busboy from the yellow door.
Who do you think you're talking about?
Don't shout at me.
Call that shouting?
Nobody asked for your opinion, Walter. You're just a simple little farm boy, and the rest of us are all sophisticated beatnik.
Let's split. Yeah, man.
Even they've had enough.
Alan? You're obnoxious. But he's such an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, she was a bitch, let's be real. But did she deserve to die?
Probably not.
Probably not.
And it was clear at that point he had gone from killing an accident and self-defense to just straight up murder. Forget going on accidents. I'm just gonna kill in cold blood now.
Gotta love it.
When the film came out, it was like many of American International Pictures films, released on a double bill at the drive-in. The movie that A Bucket of Blood played on the double bill with, Attack of the Giant Leeches.
Very interesting.
Seems fitting.
Interesting combo.
Corman said the film was not a huge success when it came out. I can't be sure, but one source says the film made $180,000 on its $50,000 budget.
Okay, that's a profit.
Not Mad Max money, but yeah.
We'll take it for the time, right?
Nowadays, A Bucket of Blood is often hailed as I said, one of Corman's best films. Right up there with The Little Shop of Horrors. And just like The Little Shop of Horrors, A Bucket of Blood was turned at one point into a stage musical.
What?
Not as successful as the Little Shop of Horrors musical, but yeah.
Wow.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Both films actually had their scripts written by Charles B. Griffith. He was like Roger Corman's go-to writer, and so many of his best work is owed to that man.
Oh, interesting.
Writers are the unsung heroes of the film world.
Yes.
If there's anything else to say on my part, it's that I took art class in high school, so I get the art scene on some level. It's not really my thing now, but I still appreciate good art. Sometimes I make a little doodle just if I feel like it. Sometimes for like a card I'm sending somebody.
Yeah.
But as far as art, I was really into making it back in the day. And while in high school, I had this art teacher who was a reasonably nice lady. And you know, at the end of a school year, the classes will have you do certain activities, or maybe they'll show a movie. Well, my art teacher, just as a nice gesture, allowed me to bring in my copy of A Bucket of Blood and play it for the whole class.
Oh, that's nice of her.
Unfortunately, none of the kids really got into it.
Yeah, because kids suck, Jake.
On the one hand, I kind of get it. This film is real zany and campy, and maybe wouldn't fit with the teen crowd of 2010.
You know what I think it would have fit in with is the Met Gala when they did the camp theme. Imagine just covered in clay as an homage to Roger Corman.
It's okay.
But I think that would have been really funny. Anyways, my 2 cents.
Good 2 cents. Well, they didn't really get into it. I did bring them, because everybody brought in some food. I did bring a bucket of KFC, which everybody seemed to, I think, partake in. So whatever negative thoughts they had weren't really spoken out loud.
They were happy with the KFC.
Hey, you get free chicken. What are you going to say?
Yeah. You know, I partly majored in theater in college, and so I was very much surrounded by the art scene. And very much surrounded by the so deep. That's so deep. Oh my God, it's so creative. It's so unique. And I just thought it was absolutely hilarious the way that they portrayed this, because I'm like, I got flashbacks.
Even though it's the 50s, would you say it was kind of accurate?
So accurate. Oh my gosh, the theater kids just being like, this is such a masterpiece.
I will say though, the title's a little misleading.
Yeah.
I don't think at any point we actually see a bucket of blood.
Go home and make something, Walter. Make another cat.
Although there is a pot.
Yes, there is a pot. But I did think that was misleading too. I picture a title that has a little bit something more with like molding and sculptures and maybe something having to do with that, but it's definitely a little misleading.
As far as accurate movie titles go, The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies, it is not. I'm not kidding, that's a real movie.
I didn't doubt you for a second, and that doesn't surprise me.
The world's first monster musical. Incredible are the songs, the gaiety, the zombie stomp. of those who will stop living.
I will say, I'm not sure my high school teacher could get away with showing this film in today's climate.
Yeah.
This film, while not crazy, is a bit risque for the 1950s.
I was thinking that.
Like, you could tell Corman was willing to push some buttons at the time, experiment and try new things.
Yeah,
Do you think it's worth checking out?
I do. I think it was worth it.
I love it, and I think it's worth going to see, not just for the comedy, but to experience Roger Corman at his best, and to see Dick Miller in the lead for once. I think the film might be in the public domain, because there are many uploads of this in its entirety on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty easy to find, and if you have an hour, 5 minutes to kill, which, who doesn't have an hour, 5 minutes to kill?
Yeah.
I say check it out. And I hope you're having a good October. Hope you have a good month.
Thanks.
And we will see you again, hopefully soon.
Bye, guys.
I'm gonna make the most wonderful, wildest, wickedest things you've ever seen. I'm gonna make big statues and little statues, tall statues and short statues. I'm gonna make
Preferably he kills
Nobody
midgets instead of
that's
children.
Famous people.